Today we are here with a new story. Well, not new story, it's the same, but Bunnicula Strikes Again, Part 3. Let's get started. Now, where were we? Of course. We were in the middle of the chapter, the end, okay? He turned his head in my direction, and had I known then what I would later learn, I would have seen the listlessness in the movement, might even have detected the lack of luster in his normally sparkly eyes. Do I imagine it now, or was there something behind that gassy glaze? He was saying, "Help me, Harold?" How easy is it to look back and see everything so differently. At the time I was just relieved he was there. I didn't pay him any more mind at that moment, because the door to the kitchen creaked open, and through it appeared Chester licking his chops. "Where were you?" I said, trying to sound less alarmed than I felt and failing miserably. "I called you and called you." Chester parked himself next to me and nonchalantly turned his tongue's attention into the tip of his tail. "For heaven's sake, Harold, get a grip on yourself. I was in the kitchen having a little snack." Knowing your inability to go without food for less than 5 minutes at a stretch, I assumed you'd be joining me. Now what's all the excitement about? Well, I left my sentence drop, feeling foolish all of a sudden to be so worked up over a mere story. I might have reminded myself of the many times Chester had not only worked himself up, but practically turned the house upside down from the hysterical overreaction to something he'd read. But then Chester's a cat and prone to overreacting. It was just something I read. I told him. He snickered. "I understand. The list of ingredients on candy wrappers can be alarming." He chortled himself as I tried to think of a speedy comeback. Unfortunately, I am notoriously slow at speedy comebacks, so I gave up the effort, even as I slightly rejoiced that this exchange was proof that life in the Monroe house was proceeding as usual. If further proof was needed, Howie came skipping down the stairs, his toenails clicking wildly. He raced to our sides and skittled to a halt. "Boy," he said breathlessly, "that was so scary." The poor kid was quivering. "What happened?" I asked. I noticed that Chester had stopped bathing his tail, staring intently at Howie. His eyes were sharp, his ears were perked. He was ready to make his move on whatever had so frightened the impressionable young puppy. Well, Howie stammered, "there was this giant potato, see, and he ate up everything in the refrigerator, and when 7th grade Billy Bob Grensaw went to get milk for his cereal—" "Hold it right there," Chester snapped. Howie, who always does that, Chester tells him, froze his jaw open and his tongue unfurled like a flag hanging off a porch on a wineless 4th of July. "Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?" Chester went on. He waited. "You can see your mouth now," Chester said. "Thanks," said Howie. "I was thinking about flesh crawlers. Number 19, the potato has 1,000 eyes. I was reading it over Pete's shoulder until he told me I had to leave because I had breath like the bottom of a garbage pail, which I resent because I haven't been near the garbage for a whole week, not since that time the babysitter left me lit off. Which reminds me, Howie!" "What, Pop?" "Do you have a point to make here?" "Do you know what I mean by a point?" "Yes, I have a point to make," said Howie. "And what was your other question?" "Did I know what a point meant?" "Of course I do. I had an appointment just last week with the vet. Get it, Pop?" "Get it, Uncle Harold." "Get it, Uncle Harold?" Howie chuckled merrily while Chester began to fume. I could have cried at how normally everything was. My point, Howie said. That was a story of really scary, especially the part where Billy Bob's pet is transformed into a French fried poodle. Chester shook his head in disgust. Who writes this drivel, he asked. Drivel, said Howie. I don't know what drivel is, but I can tell you one thing. M.T. Graves does not write drivel. Besides, it could really happen. And you said so yourself, Bob. What could really happen? Vegetables can be dangerous. I've always said that about spinach, I interjected. Don't you always remember you were worried that Bunnicula was attacking vegetables all over town, draining them of their juices? And you said the vegetables will turn into vampires too? Remember, Pop? You just had us going, staking them through their little veggie hearts with toothpicks. Well, said Chester, I couldn't tell if the memory was making him proud or embarrassed. He's often poised. He's between the two. You know how cats are. You never know if they're going to make a cool move or a fool move. And most of the time, neither do they. Howie pressed on. Do you still think Bunnicula is a vampire, don't you? Of course, Chester said. And do you think he's a danger to vegetables, right? Chester hesitated before speaking. Let's just say he used to be a danger, and I don't think we have to worry about that any longer. What do you mean? I asked. Then I remembered. Oh, because the Monroes feed him a liquid diet. He no longer drains vegetables from their juices. Is that it? Chester's face took on an odd expression. Let's just say the matter is under control, Harold, at last. But Chester, I said Bunnicula hasn't attacked any vegetable since he escaped that time. Surely you're no longer worried about him? Oh, I'm no longer worried about him. No, I'm not worried at all. And with that, he jumped up on the brown velvet armchair, bid us good night, and after circling and pawing at the seat cushion for a good 5 minutes, proceeded to fall into a deep and seemingly untroubled sleep. Howie and I meandered over to Bunnicula's cage. Do you think Pop meant about everything being under control? Howie asked as we regarded our lethargic chum. Chester likes to hear himself talk sometimes. I told Howie, and he likes to believe that Bunnicula is a threat. But I don't think he'd do him any real harm. After all, he's one of the family. Howie smiled. My brother the bunny, he said. Hey, that reminds me, Uncle Harold, did you read the Flesh Crawlers number 33? My sister, the Pickled Brain? It is so cool. See, there's this girl named Laura Lynn O'Flynn who has this twin sister, and one day she asked her to help with this science experiment, and something goes way wrong. Next thing you know is how he nannered on. I thought about what I'd said to him, although I was pleased to find life carrying on as usual in the Monroe household. I was troubled that something might once again be fanning the spark of Chester's suspicions and animosity toward an innocent rabbit, one we called a friend. Did I really believe Chester would do a Bunnicula no harm? After all, he had tried to destroy Bunnicula once. How far would he have gone? How far would he go now? I had no answers, and I did not like where the questions were taking me. It was only later that night, when I was fast asleep, that the pieces came together as they do in dreams. The lifeless look in Bunnicula's eyes, Chester's mysterious comments, the disturbing scene from the story Toby had read to me earlier. Was it one thing in particular, or was it all of the pieces floating dreamlike through my slumber that put the questions into my mind that would not go away? Might Chester and Bunnicula be headed for their own fateful plunge from the precipice? Could this be the end of Bunnicula? The next chapter is called The Terrible Truth About Chester. That's all for today, everyone. So I just wanted to tell you this. Leave a like, subscribe, and after we're done with this, just Just subscribe and I will be doing more books. Bye.